I see we have everybody present, so that's good. We have one ordinance on the agenda tonight, and that is 2021-14. Alderman Roberson, I'm going to go ahead and recognize you on the floor for this.
All right, thank you, Chairman Skidmore and colleagues and staff. Tonight, I want to bring forward to you for your consideration ordinance 2021-14. If you will look in your BOMA packet, it's on page 22. It starts on page 22. And let me talk just a little bit about how I crafted this, and I did craft it from the beginning. I have had Mr. Bradley review it, and he has approved it in form. So it is a proper ordinance by form, and I'd like to tell you just a little bit about my objectives of what I was trying to do when I came up with this idea that the mayor first had proposed back in early February. The first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to try to strike a balance. As aldermen, we are called on to balance, just like Solomon in many cases. I wish I had the wisdom of Solomon, but we're to balance competing interest. The competing interest that I have attempted to balance in this ordinance is the balance between the saving of money for a rainy day fund or a year-end fund balance, which are synonymous, and which I think is the number one need in our city is paving streets. I've stated in this ordinance that one of the critical responsibilities of local government is to provide safe and adequate roads for its citizens and businesses. And believe me, I know that I have heard from my constituents in Ward 6 about the condition of roads in this city. In fact, I would go so far to say, Chairman Skidmore, that our roads are in an emergency situation. They are deteriorating. In fact, I just received a text from a constituent in Ward 5 that he has hit a large pothole in one of the streets in the city and has damaged his car tire and wants to know who to contact to get his tire repaired. So it is a bad situation, and I think all of us realize that. So what I've tried to do is I've looked at the fund balance that Robert is projecting. Robert is projecting between 5.1 and $5.2 million at the end of the fiscal year. So what I have done, I have left 90% of that fund balance, 90% into the rainy day fund. I am only recommending 10% of that surplus to go for additional paving. And I think that that's an interesting thing to put in perspective. I'm not robbing the reserve, the rainy day fund. In fact, I'm only just barely getting out a dipper of that for roads, which I think are in dire need. Now, when I started working with Public Works, and I want to thank Marshall and I want to thank Trace and Sarah for their hard work on this. I worked them pretty hard, I'm sure. But what I've told them is I want to see in the $500,000 plan, every ward represented. So what you will see in attachment 1 is that there are roads in every ward that will be touched by this $500,000 for additional paving. That is by design. And also, even with the taking of just a mere 10% out of our rainy day fund, we will still eclipse, it's my understanding from the historical records I've looked at, any previous rainy day fund that this city has ever maintained. So we are on the precipice of meeting or exceeding any rainy day fund that this city has ever had. And in fact, it's quite a bit more than the budget predicted. So I'm not rating the rainy day fund. I'm just taking 10% of it out. So what I have put in here is I have put two scenarios. I have put $500,000 and $1 million. I have decided to go with the $500,000 because I think that is the conservative approach, and it still allows us to help every ward in the city. And so, for example, I see Alderman Collins there. If she votes for this tonight, Shoots Lane will be paved. So the citizens on Shoots Lane will be very pleased by an affirmative vote on this ordinance tonight. And you can see the list. Berrywood in Ward 2, Hickory Trail in Ward 2, and so on and so forth. Every corner of this city will be affected by this small down payment in additional paving. Now, two of the conditions that I wanted to see met before I would bring this resolution forward is, first, I asked Public Works, and I'm going to ask you, Marshall, on the record, of the roads that we have already scheduled to be paved the rest of this fiscal year, and attachment C on the ordinance shows those roads, the status of those roads. Are you confident, Marshall, that we can pave all of those roads that have already been approved and budgeted for?
Yes, sir. I can confirm that. And to go along with my answer, I've asked Rogers Group to provide a representative to reaffirm that they can pave those roads. And if you wish to ask them the same question, you're more than welcome to. But I affirm that can happen, and it will.
Marshall, is Jared here this evening?
He is. Mr. Jared Nix,
yes,
with the Rogers Group, is here to provide.
Jared, how you doing? Mark Skidmore.
good evening. I'm doing well, Mark. How are you?
All right, man. Y'all did some great work today, I got to tell you.
Well, that's what I
A
like
lot
to
of
hear.
calls on that.
Good.
So if it's okay, Chairman Skidmore, I'd like to ask Jared the same question.
Okay.
And I've got two questions for you, Jared. The first question is, of the roads, and you are aware of the roads that's in attachment C,
Yes,
or appendix C, of the roads in the city that have not yet been paved, but Public Works has committed, and you have committed. So can your company meet the goal of finishing all of these roads before the end of the fiscal year?
Yes, sir. And in fact, it's our intent right now that we've got a paving crew there. All the streets are milled. We will continue until those are covered up. And then there are a few that have to be overlaid, and we don't intend to leave the city until we get all of those covered up. So it's our intent to get those done relatively quickly.
Well, and let me follow up then, Jared, on that. Thank you for that response. And we haven't met before, have we, to discuss this?
No, sir.
This is unrehearsed, I guess.
Unrehearsed.
Have you looked at the $500,000 list?
I don't think I've seen that list unless Tyler's seen that, Marshall. I don't know if I've seen that list.
I don't think they have. Yeah.
Well, on that list, it lists 6 roads that we are proposing in this ordinance to pave. So do you think you can do additional work over and above what we've already asked you to do this fiscal year? And Marshall, I don't know if you can send that to him to let him look, but there are 7 roads listed on that appendix.
Yeah, I mean, obviously looking at the roads would be important, but there is zero reason why we cannot go ahead and do that 500,000. And I know you mentioned $1 million, and I know you're going the conservative approach, but we have no doubt that we could do $1 million if that was what was necessary for this group. We are committed to that in the relationship here, and all of our crews and the needs of those have been committed to you guys until we can get those taken care of. So there's no concern there on our end whatsoever.
Well, thank you, Jared. And Marshall and Trace also had told me that, and I was going on their word, but I think your confirmation of that is just even more proof that we can do more this fiscal year. So Marshall, do you want to say anything else before I kind of wrap up my summary of the ordinance?
No, you've done a very, very adequate job of doing that, and I appreciate your work in developing that ordinance and bringing it forward. And we're happy to, if voted on and approved, we'd be more than happy to continue that and make sure those roads get paved.
Thank you. Well, in closing,
Eddie, before you go, I just want to say that I do oversee all of our paving crews. And so inviting me here, I have control over where they go and what they do. And so I just want to, affirm to everybody on the group that, if I tell you that it's going to be done, it's under my control of where they go and where they pave. So it will get taken care of.
and the only one that I really would like to highlight on that list of roads that you've already said we can accomplish is the one that is the largest road on there, and that's Imperial Boulevard. The part of the money that's outstanding that we haven't spent, but we have committed to Rogers Group, Chairman Skidmore, is $266,000. That is by far the largest project on this list. And Jared, do you have any idea when you're going to be able to get to Imperial Boulevard?
Well, we're over there in that area right now today. In fact, I visited the crew, and our intention is to continue on in those areas. We're trying to get the streets covered up that have been milled, but any overlays are going to be taken care of directly after that.
Thank you. In closing, Chairman Skidmore, what I'm trying to do here is try to change the narrative. I'm trying to change the narrative that our city is not doing enough on paving to the narrative that we are taking extra steps to try to get to the neighborhoods, to try to get to the roads that are in dire need of repair. I think that this is a small step. Again, it's only 10% of the rainy day fund to use for this. And I think it's a good first step. And I hope that this committee, and if it approves, I hope tonight BOMA will give an affirmative action that, yes, let's put our actions where our mouths are as far as paving. Let's do something about it before the end of this fiscal year, over and above what we'd planned. So that's all, Chairman Skidmore.
All right. Thank you, Alderman Roberson. Outstanding job by everyone in the committee and in Public Works to bring forward what I feel is a good job or a job that can be done and can be accomplished. And as far as the Rogers Group, Jared, y'all have done an outstanding job for a long time. And I expect nothing less but the best from you guys, I got to tell you.
Well, I appreciate that. You'll get it from us.
Thank you, brother. I do appreciate that. Marshall, before we vote, do you have anything to say? And then I'll ask anybody, the rest.
No, sir. I'm good.
All right. And Lee, how are you feeling? You want to say anything, or how do you feel?
I'm excited that we're going to pave a lot of roads. That's what I hear from weekly almost. So this is exciting news, and I appreciate the work that Alderman Roberson's doing and working with Director Boyd. This is good news, and it's certainly welcome to the citizens of Hendersonville.
Spoken very well. I will say this. I don't know if the mayor's here today or is in the committee, but I want to say this. I know Lee Peterson did. I know that I did. And I know that if Eddie had been running, which he probably won't, he'll be lucky he won't have anybody run against him. But we made a commitment to not only to each ward and even to the wards that were not even ours, but we made a commitment to them and the city of Hendersonville that we're going to pave roads. And Eddie, that's exactly what your ordinance says. And that it proves we listen to the people of Hendersonville.
Amen.
And so, Mayor Clary, do you have anything to say?
Amen.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want people to know that, how proud I am of this committee and Lee and Eddie and the whole committee, or the whole Public Works Department, how far this thing has come, and we're committed to it. Just give us a chance to do our work and we'll do it. So anyway, if there's no one else that has, I don't see, maybe Marshall, you see, is there any other alderman or someone else in the committee that is here that wants to speak or anything?
I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Okay, that's fine.
I have
Let's
my
go.
hand raised, Chairman Skidmore,
Yes,
but
sir.
only if I'll go after anybody on the committee has any anything to add.
Yeah, yeah, I always try to recognize everybody, and our committee has spoken, and now it's up to you with Russ and maybe Rachel. She may have some things to say. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. I just had a question for Alderman Robertson. Okay, you have Appendix A attached to your ordinance. Where did the list of those roads, the paving list, come from? That's the $500,000 list.
Well, if you don't mind, let me let Marshall answer that question. I will say this, I had nothing to do. All I asked Public Works to do is to come up with roads in every ward. And Marshall either confirm or deny that statement, and then explain to Alderman Edwards how that list was derived.
Sure, absolutely. Several weeks ago, staff developed the 3-year plan that we sent out to BOMA. And when Alderman Robertson wanted to develop this list, we went to that 3-year plan and picked out roads in the near term, to come up with a $500,000 list and $1 million list. And that's how that was developed. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but we looked in the near term, looking out over the next year, and picked out roads in each ward, obviously, to comprise those 2 lists.
Okay. Okay. Was it just you involved in the decision?
Sarah and Trace and myself.
Okay. All right. Well, that answers my question. Thank y'all very much.
Yes, sir. Rachel, did you have anything?
Yes, I respectfully, Alderman Robertson, I do not think that the 10% of the general fund number is accurate, because I don't think our general fund is at 5 million. And Robert's on the call. I wonder if he could update us on what our general fund is at right now. He may not be prepared for this at all.
So we started at 4 million at the beginning of the fiscal year. We're on track to be around 5.1, possibly a little over that at the end of the year.
Okay.
That's,
okay. So I was wrong about that. That is around 10% and would leave us still at that level.
I'd like to put things in a little bit into perspective. I mean, talking about that, 2012, we had about 4.5 million left in the fund balance, but keep in mind, we were doing somewhere around $30 million in revenue back then, which is a 35% increase. And one would hope that the fund balance would kind of see that same increase as well over that time period, but it hasn't quite yet. But that's something I think is missed. Certainly needs to be in a consideration. Not to say one way or the other. Certainly up to this board how they go about that. But I just want to make that evident that if we were at the 5.1, that would be around 15. Well, excuse me. Somewhere around 10% of our operational, but that's, like I said, I'll bow out after that, but that's all I've got.
Okay, that's all I wanted to figure out.
All right. Anything else, Rachel? I do want to add, I apologize to you and Russ both. I really don't know what any of your campaign stuff said. And if you all said the roads too, you're on board with us too. And I appreciate that to this committee. So I apologize. So if you did, more power to you. And Russ, the same way for you, man.
I was unopposed. I didn't say anything, Mark. I was unopposed.
I know. You're smart. You got luck, but
well, I don't know.
But anyway, Rachel, I do want you to know, if you did, kudos goes to you, man. And thank you. I hope for your support. We both you and Russ, we would love to have your support for this. It just, it keeps on saying that this is what this Board of Mayor and Aldermen is. We're working hard to try to give you the services you provide, or we provide for you, for the taxpayers, for their services. Okay, let's go ahead and vote on this. We've got about 8
Chairman.
minutes. So the ordinance is
Chairman,
there any other further discussion on the motion? Marshall?
Jonathan.
Alderman
Jonathan.
Jonathan?
Yes, sir.
Oh, is Jonathan in?
Yeah, thank you,
Hey,
Chairman. I appreciate it.
All right, we owe a great debt to this man right here. I didn't even know you were in here, and I apologize for that.
No problem, Chairman. I want to thank the whole committee. I just want to thank Alderman Robertson for all of his work that he put into this. I'm grateful for Mr. Nix to be on board here, for everything Marshall did, and also Sarah to put the list together. I am confident that I can support this tonight, and I believe there are going to be other aldermen that will vote for this, in particular because at about a month ago when we said let's wait and keep it in savings, at least my understanding was and my thinking was, if we can get all that paving done, as Jared called it, laying down the pavement, the asphalt, then I'm believing that we should put more money into it. We don't want the presses to stop. We don't want the paving machines to stop. I think one of the, and there's not a one of the 13 on this board that doesn't want to pave our roads. I'm confident, regardless of whether we ran on that or not. I think the other thing is, and I think one of the concerns, especially from those that are especially conservative with the finances, is that we don't want to miss any opportunities during the warm months. We don't want to burn all of our candle up during, April, May, and June. We want to make sure we're continuing. We're committed as a board to 2.8 million starting July 1. So that's our only concern. Is I just don't want us to, really pave a lot of roads and then just suddenly stop. So Jared, thank you for your commitment to bring the crews in. I trust you, and I trust Rogers Group, and I'm feeling really good about this tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Jonathan was the one of the ones that approached our committee and was concerned about paving, and you have ever since I've known you, since you've been on the board, you've always been concerned about it and came back to us, and then Eddie and Jonathan got together, and I will let other folks tonight at the board not only know this, but the people of Hendersonville needs to know it. But we all worked hard on it, and we need this to everybody to vote in favor of this. And I'm encouraging all the aldermen at the board level as well as in this committee. So if there's no other discussion, and Jonathan, thank you again, brother. I appreciate it. Any other discussion on the motion? We got about 5 minutes, so we're running great time tonight. All right, hearing none. Does anybody need the motion repeated? Hearing none. All in favor of the ordinance 2021-14 signify by saying aye when I call your name. Alderman Roberson.
And Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the ordinance, a positive rating. I move for a positive rating for our committee tonight, and I vote yes.
Thank you very much. I was just so excited to even move this along. And is there a second?
Second.
And there you go. Thank you, Mr. Peterson, Alderman Peterson. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor of ordinance 2021-14 signify by saying aye when I call your name. Alderman Roberson.
Aye.
And Alderman Peterson.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well, and it passes unanimously. We're going to try to move this at the board to get it on board for a discussion and vote tonight at the board. And I feel pretty comfortable that we'll be able to get it on. I feel strongly about it. I mean, we've helped each other, so many times here lately. Maybe we'll be able to get this one on. Okay, there is no further discussion. We'll go ahead, and I'll need a motion to skate.
So moved.
Second.
And Alderman Peterson seconds. Alderman Roberson, what's your vote?
Yes.
Okay, and Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
And the chair votes aye as well. Meeting is adjourned, and thank you guys and everybody that's in the committee that I cannot see on my screen. We'll see you tonight at 7. And let's hopefully we'll